Professor. Hi. Come on in. Okay, so we need to go ahead and get started. So this is the main Koala Connection page. So to log in, typically, if it's your first login, it's going to be your first initial and last name. The password by default, until you change it, is koala with a capital K and the last 4 of your social security number. And then you'll have an option to change it. One thing I want to show you when you are on this main page is that there are several tabs across the top. The home page is where you will actually be able to see your course shells. So all of you will have at least one course shell. I'm teaching 5 classes this fall, so I actually have 5. The other ones that are going to be particularly relevant for faculty members is the faculty tab. This has some interesting things that you'll want to know about. Over here, you have options to go to forms and documents. These are forms that you might need, for instance, if you have a student withdrawing from a class, we have a course withdrawal form. If you want to propose a class, we have special topics forms. Under forms and documents, we also have all of the academic calendars and schedules. So let me click on that really quickly. So women's college schedule, evening college schedule, the academic calendar. There's check sheets for various majors. So lots of helpful forms and documents. If you scroll down even farther, forms for instructors. Hopefully you'll never need a change of grade form, but if you do, that's there as well. And then there's some other forms that students can use. So that's under the faculty tab under forms and documents. In addition, under the faculty tab is the main learning management system. This is where you can go within KC to look at past, current, and future course shells. So if you want to bring up some material from a past course that you've taught, if you go to Learning Management System, this is where you can find all of that information. And then later on in the semester, it will begin to populate a shell for a future course. So these are my current courses, but then I also have the option on going to past courses, and then later on this semester, when they begin to get added to the system, future courses. So that's under the Learning Management System link under the Faculty main tab right here. The other one that's probably the most relevant for us is Employee Info. If you're interested, on the Employee Info tab, you can take a look at employee reports, summary of benefits, employee information, has your up-to-date tax information, those kind of HR things. So that is all in the system, and that will be under the Employee Information tab. So we're going to actually spend the most time, let's go back to the faculty tab for a minute, talking about our individual course shells. But there is one more feature that I want to point out, actually 2. If you scroll down on the main faculty tab, you have a very short list of all of the classes that you're teaching without having to go into individual course shells. And the nice thing about looking at it on your faculty page is that you can check your class list. So this gives you a nice list of everyone enrolled in your course. This is one of my classes. And then if you are an Excel person, you can export that list to an Excel spreadsheet. I'm an Excel person, so I will export this to Excel. But usually for the first day, I will just go in here and print out that sheet. So I've got an easy course roll print. Are you here today or not? Especially those first couple of days of classes where things are a little bit crazy. But you do have the option of exporting your information to Excel. All of those columns will go into a blank spreadsheet. Up here, then, you can change your courses. Everything that you're teaching should be listed. So again, that's on the main faculty page. I'm going to go back to that tab. So you have the Learning Management System, where you have past, current, and future courses listed. You have forms and documents. You have your class lists. And on the faculty main page, if you scroll down even further, the last thing I want to point out is where it says grade entry. On the faculty page is where you will enter final grades for the classes that you're teaching. So you can put in as much as you would like in KC, but you will enter manually final grades. They will not be pulled from KC. Midterm grades, you have the option of just letting the registrar pull what's in there to date, because midterm grades aren't official in any way. It's just an indicator of how well a student is doing. So if you just say, you know what, just pull them from KC, I'm not going to enter them, they will. But final grades must be manually entered, and this is where you will enter them under grade entry. Right now there's nothing there because there are no final grades to enter. But closer to the end of the semester, they will become available, and you'll be able to view your course or courses and enter grades for each student. So that's where you'll be final grades. You don't have to, but the registrar will pull whatever's in KC as the student's midterm grades. Oh, just under the faculty course information, just go to class list on your particular class, and it'll pull up that roster. And that's for me, that's a little bit easier than going into each course shell and trying to pull that information. So that's the basic main pages within KC. We're going to spend the majority of time just playing with one course shell. So I'm going to go back to my courses, and I am going to pick a class. I'm going to pick on this one. And I've already gone ahead and just put in a little bit of information for my students, because technically this class does start tomorrow, even though it's online. This is the main shell of your course. One of the nice things about Koala Connection is that you are able, to some extent, to edit the boxes that you see, so that you can get rid of things that you don't like, you can keep things that you like, you can move them around. I don't play with that too much, but you certainly can. On the calendar function, you can add an event to a particular day, and it will show up on the day such that, you know, this is due, this is coming up. If you'd like to have reminders for students, you can. Personally, it's on the syllabus for me, so I just take off the calendar. I just think it's one extra thing that they don't need, because that information is going to be on their syllabus. Announcements can be used to post announcements to students, so when they log on to this course shell, they will see any announcements. Actually for you it should say about this course. I'm sure that's what it says. I've already changed the name to announcements. This one is Casey's official announcements page. If you post something here, it will go to the student's course manager. I've never seen that. I don't know what students see. All I know is that if I post something in announcements or about this course on this shell, I know it's there. I know what information I posted. I know that students need to come here to find it. So technically, you can post announcements for students in either place. If you post them here, they will stay here. If you post them here, they go to the student's course manager page, which I'm sorry I haven't seen personally. Down here, handouts. This is for any type of handout you want to provide for students, whether or not it's tied to a particular assignment. This isn't the only place you can post a handout, but this is a very convenient place because it's on their main screen. The format types for handouts: Word documents, PDFs, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoints. For my stats class, I post data sets, and for SPSS, pretty much any document of any kind or spreadsheet it will accept. I'm trying to think of some other funkier types of handouts that you might have, but nothing's coming to mind that you might use. But anything you want to post, a reading, a homework key, a review sheet, anything can go under handouts. Bookmarks, I don't know why Casey calls it bookmarks. This is where you can post website links. So the first thing I'm going to do is go in and change that to website links, because I don't know why it's called bookmarks. So right now I just want to show you where these things are, and then we'll go back and run through how to do them. But bookmarks is where you're going to post any website links. Up here at the top, you have some options, and I just want to show you these while we're on the main screen of your shell. Right here, if you click on any one of these, you can change the name. So for you, again, this is going to say about this course. If I want to change bookmarks to websites or website links, oops, this is where I would do it. Click on use this name, and then it'll close the window. I also have the option of deleting that feature. Like I said before, I don't personally use the calendar, so I would just go under options and delete it because I'm not going to use that. I expect that students will look at the dates on their syllabus. So under options, you can change the names of features, you can delete features. Okay, and then I'm going to click on back to the main page of our shell. Okay, so to the left, right now what it's showing is that these are all of the features that I have on my main page. I'm going to end up deleting this announcement, so I won't have announcements duplicated, but announcements, calendar, handouts, website links, and again, I can change, modify, or delete whatever elements I don't want. If you take a look under tools, you also have the option, I think under layout and rearrange, to actually rearrange where things are. For instance, if you want to move handouts up here, you can do that. That would be under these two selections, that you can actually change the arrangement of how your main page is laid out. What I want to do is take a look on the left side at these various pages within your shell to show you some of the different features. The first one is attendance. The college requires that instructors take attendance for the first 2 weeks of class. That is to track who is actually attending, particularly for tuition and financial aid purposes. So we are required to track attendance online in KC for the first 2 weeks of class. After that, it is up to individual instructors, whatever your attendance policy is and however you want to keep track of it. But we must keep track in KC for the first 2 weeks. Click on the attendance. I'm going to go ahead. This is showing the month of August. Classes start tomorrow. And actually, let me go to a different class because I don't think this one is going to work like my other on-site classes do. Let me go to a different class for a second. Okay, under attendance, this class starts tomorrow. My biological psychology class starts tomorrow. So if I click on tomorrow on the 27th, these are all of my students. By default, you have present. If that student is not here or tardy, you have these options to choose from. It is up to you if they're absent to choose excused, unexcused. If you differentiate between the two, I don't, so I just use the first one, which they're excused, but they're still absent. If you want to mark tardy, that's okay too. So go through, click on who was and wasn't here, and then at the bottom hit save, and that will save your attendance record for that day.
Is there a requirement how many days it is?
That's up to you. The college, as far as I know, the college does not have a policy.
Okay.
So it's up to individual instructors what their policy is. The college does provide an FA option. So instead of getting an F for a course, they can receive an FA, failure due to excessive absences. But that is up to the individual instructor. An instructor might just say, I'm just going to give you an F. You know, you were absent so many days that you did horribly in the class, so I'm just going to give you an F. But you do have the option of awarding an FA. And it will show up on their transcript as an FA.
Once we press save,
That's it. Your job's done. But if you need to go back and modify, like, oh my gosh, I marked you absent and you were actually here, then you can always go back into it and edit that session.
Do you have the ability just to print out a roster?
That was under class lists on the faculty tab. That my courses. Yep, you can just print it. You just hit print, or you can export it to Excel and print that way. But in my office, I just hit print and it printed, and it was in a readable format.
I can see checking it that way and then going back.
Me too. That's exactly how I do it. All right, under the collaboration tab to the left, we have 3 options. You have forums. This is where we can set up threaded discussions. Course mates. I'll come back to forums in a little bit. Course mates is where you can actually see your students and email some or all of them. There they are. So if I click on these boxes, I can select students to send an email to. For instance, if students turn in their homework on time, I will send them a key, but only for students who submitted the homework on time. So I can go in and select individual students to receive that email with the key. But you do have the option, if you scroll down, of selecting everyone. And that means everyone will get the email. Okay. And then you can choose, everyone's name will come up. You can choose to send a copy to yourself, although if you chose everyone, you should get a copy anyway. Type your email, and then if you would like, you can attach a file. So if you want to email a key, email a review assignment, email whatever you would like, you can do it this way. So that's in CourseMates. That's an easy way to be able to get in touch with your students via email. When students email you within the system, which they will from time to time, it comes up in your email inbox as the system's email. It's called JICS, J-I-C-S. And when I first started getting those emails, I thought, this is spam, this is junk, what is this? It is actually an email from a student. So if you see an email from JICS, that's from a student. Open it and see who the message is from. Now, they may just send you an email from their regular Columbia College email account, which is fine, but if they're within the system and say, I'm going to send Dr. Thompson an email, it will show up in your inbox as JICS, but don't just delete it. It's probably a legitimate message. While I'm on the subject and thinking about it, let me just remind you, Koala Connection does not like for us to use the back navigation button. It will probably give you an error message if you say, no, I didn't want to get in this page, I'm just going to hit the back button. Don't do that. At the top, you always have your little trail to follow. So this is where I'm at right now, the collaboration part of my biological psychology page. You can either navigate this way or just go to the left as to which page you want within your shell. But just try to avoid the back navigation button if you can. I always forget. And then it gives you a nice big error message. Okay, and also under collaboration, if you want to do a real-time chat session, just an open chat session, sometimes faculty use that for virtual office hours, where you say, I will be in the chat room from 1 to 2 on Wednesday. If you have a message, if you have a question, a comment, some issue, you can just meet me in the chat room. So we'll go through that in just a minute. Under the coursework tab, this is where you can set up assignments, either to have students upload, to take online, or really just to make a placeholder to enter a score for an assignment. So let me show you what I mean by that. If I was to add an assignment in coursework, it's going to give you 3 options. Online test is where you would set up an online test or quiz. File upload, if you have a homework assignment or a paper, you want students to upload it as a document. You would create a file upload format for that assignment. Basic just tells Casey, I just want to be able to enter a score for an assignment. I just need a space for that. So if I had them do a group discussion in class and they got 5 points for participating, it was nothing they needed Casey to do, but I need a place to create that assignment and add their scores. That would just be basic format. If you give paper and pencil exams in class, yes, that still happens, and I still do that in many of my classes, you just need to enter their scores. Here's the exam 1 scores. You would just create a basic format. All that is a placeholder to be able to enter scores. So we'll talk about that in just a second. And then the last function I want to point out is the grade book. This is where students' grades will appear. You are required to enter students' scores in gradebook. You are not required to have gradebook score assignments, create a grade for students. All you have to do is have a place to enter them. This is for the college's early alert system. And you can see it down here at the bottom. We have a system in place where students who are experiencing academic difficulty are notified by members of our academic and student affairs staff. We don't know if a student is in difficulty unless they're getting continually low grades that are showing up in the grade book. So when I say the college requires us to use gradebook, only to the extent that you have to actually enter scores for students. You don't have to use any of the functions of gradebook or coursework to do that. You just need to enter, if you want to, just enter a basic format assignment and say, here's their quiz 1 grades, here's their homework 1 grades. I just need to put the scores in here somewhere. So that's just for our early alert system. Many faculty took issue with that, and they said, well, I don't want to have KC do my grading. I said, no, it's not. It's not at all. You have total freedom to do your assignments however you like. You just have to have a record of how they did in KC. So we'll go through how to change ranges, and if you like to wait, we'll show you that as well. The other default page that is in our system is the syllabus page. You can choose to keep that as a separate page, or if you just think that's a little bit too much, and I'm just going to go back to my main page and put my syllabus under handouts, you don't have to keep that page. Just because it's there doesn't mean you're required to use it. So there is a button underneath all of those pages called Context Manager. And then under Pages, you can get rid of the syllabus page if you just don't want a separate standalone page for that. That's probably the only thing I would recommend trying to delete. I wouldn't, it gives you the option to delete collaboration, but I wouldn't do that. That would delete your course mates, your threaded discussions, and your ability to chat. But you can also create a new page. Let's say you want a page that just has videos. You can create a new page that will just have videos for the class or whatever you would like. All right, what I'm going to show you first, because it's probably the most relevant for all of us, is the coursework page. In order for grades to appear in gradebook, you have to create the assignment in coursework. That is not the same for all learning management systems. I have used other ones where you can just put a grade in the gradebook. You can enter scores. Here's the assignment, here's the score. Casey does not work that way, and that it takes a little bit of getting used to. Gradebook is only pulling from what is in coursework. So you must create the assignment in coursework in order for it to show up in the gradebook. So once you get into the coursework page, one of the options you have is to manage your units and types. I like to arrange my courses by unit, so I'm going to go ahead and add Unit 1 is by default. I'm going to go ahead and add in Unit 2, Unit 3, Unit 4, Unit 5. If you'd rather have units by topics, you have that option. You can call it and have as many or as few as you would like. In terms of types of assignments, these are the options. So this should cover most types of assignments. If you want to add a type, presentation for instance, you can add that type of assignment. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because when you go into coursework, it's going to ask you, okay, what type of assignment is this? You're going to have to pick something. It is also handy to be able to tell Casey what type of assignment it is, because if you choose to have the gradebook weight differently, like weight exams more than homeworks and by what percentage, it has to know what type of assignment each one is. So you're going to have to assign it a type. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add an assignment. And the first one I'm going to show you is just a file upload. This is students have to read an article and answer some questions, for instance, a basic type. This is what, pretty much for any type of assignment that you add in coursework, this is what you're going to see. The name of the assignment, what unit it's in, is it required? Is it optional? Is it extra credit? I think that's up here. Yep, required, extra credit, or optional. And then the type. And there's the types to choose from. The due date, you may choose to have Casey accept late submissions and then specify when. If you select that option, Casey will also ask you, do you want me to automatically penalize? You don't have to use that function, but it can. You know, a certain percentage, a certain number of points per day late. So use it as much or as little as you would like. I accept late submissions up to 24 hours after the due date, but I don't tell KC to do the penalty. I do the penalty. You have the option as to when you want it to be displayed to students, either now, later, or on some specified date. Graded, no credit, or credit, no credit, or not graded. And then when you want to show the grade. So there are a lot of options, and this is what students don't see when we try to set up assignments. It takes a lot. Up here, I want to go back really quickly to the type. If you make an assignment extra credit, Casey will compute it accurately. For instance, if you have a 5-point extra credit assignment, it will give those 5 points just to the top part of the equation to determine their score, not both parts. So if it's 5 points, it's just added 5 points to the total that they've earned, not the total possible. But if students choose not to do the extra credit, their score shows up as a 0, so it looks like an F. And students don't like that very much. Like, I thought this was extra credit. Why is it showing up as an F? I'm like, it's an F for extra credit. So that it's just one of those things. One of those things about Casey that's not my favorite because I have to spend time explaining why it's showing up as an F, even though it's really not an F because it was only extra credit. So it will show, like, for instance, 0 out of 5 for the extra credit. So I just wanted to point that out in case you had that question. As a file upload, you can specify what's the minimum number of files. By default, it's 1, and the maximum number of files. If I have a student doing a paper and they have to supply 4 primary sources with it, 4 journal articles, I can specify maximum number is 5, their actual paper, and the 4 articles in PDF format. So you can specify the minimum and the maximum. And then under instructions and files, you can describe the assignment here. And what's most relevant, all the way at the very bottom, adding a file. This is where you will actually add the assignment. You will post the homework questions. If you want to, you will post an article that they're answering questions for, whatever the case may be. So you can choose your file, go to your jump drive, your computer, wherever the file is, choose it, and add the file. Once you are finished adding the file, just make sure you save your assignment. I have done it so many times. You go through adding a file and you save it in that box and you think, oh, okay, I'm done. But you forget to save your assignment with all of the specifications that you just put in terms of due date, whether it's required, are you going to penalize it for being late? And students say, well, where's the assignment? I'm like, I know it. I added that file. I know I did. You did not save it. So make sure you save your assignment. So that's the basics of an upload. Now when you have students do that, when you go back to coursework, you'll be able to take a look at the unit, and if there was an assignment here to show, it will say, let's say homework 1. You can click on it, all the students' names appear, you click on their name, and then you'll be able to open their files. Open their homework assignment, open their review questions, open whatever it is that they were supposed to upload. It will show the day and the time that it was submitted. And you would be amazed at how many 4 a.m.s, 3 a.m.s show up. They don't know that we know that, but I have told them that. It's like, why are you doing this at 4 in the morning? Mm-hmm.
So it has to be under the unit?
You can set it up however. You don't have to use units.
Oh.
You can rename that something else. You can do it by the subject, topic instead of units, however you want to lay it out. That's totally up to you. You can edit that name and add different names for however you're organizing the course. The basic format, like I said, there's going to be a little bit less to add because all you're doing is basically creating an assignment that you will then score. So you still have to provide a name, whether it's required, what type, how many points it's out of, etc., etc. But Casey will not be expecting that a student will upload a file to meet this assignment requirement. This is what I would use if I was just entering exam scores. All I'm going to be doing is entering the scores and nothing more than that. There's no files to upload and nothing to complete online. The last type of coursework is either an online quiz or test. This is a 2-step process. First, you create the assignment, then you can go into the test builder and build the assignment. So I'm going to call this quiz 1. Make it a quiz. Due next week. Okay. Okay. under the online assignment options, you have many options to go through when they can view their test, what's the time limit. If you want to turn off all access to the test, I would just leave this as one section per page. Allow better than perfect scores. I wouldn't worry too much about a password, but if you want to, you can assign a password. If you want to give students the option to retake it, in some classes I do that, and you can choose how many retakes, how long they can wait before they retake it. Show in progress grade updates, so they can actually see how well they're doing as they're going through their quiz or test. Hopefully it's good news, not bad news. I don't usually activate that, but you can. And then if the quiz or test is taken more than once, how do you want KC to handle that? The average of all their attempts, the highest, or the last attempt? Okay, and then if there's any instructions or descriptions that you want to provide to students. Okay, I'm going to save the assignment. Okay, once you save the assignment, then what it does is takes you to what's called the test builder, and that's this. Here's where you can add your questions. And if you want to go back and edit what you just did in terms of the assignment parameters, you can click on more, and then you can go back to edit this assignment. If you wanted to change this information, I wanted to change the date, oh, I do want to give them a retake or whatever that is, you can always go back to the assignment details. So to add a question, it will prompt you. You can do question number 1, you can put whatever you want in the label, then the question text, what is your question, how many points is it worth, and then the type. Several types to choose from. Typically, essay, matching, multiple choice, short answer. Essay will just provide a text box for students to type their answer. Short answer is just expecting like a 1 or 2 word answer, and then you can specify whether or not they have to match in terms of the spelling. You know, so what neurotransmitter is produced by the substantia nigra, and it's dopamine. You know, they have to spell dopamine correctly. So short answer is just a brief 1 or 2 word answer. For essay, it's just going to change the interface a little bit. Instead of expecting some multiple choice responses, you can type the question here, and then it knows it's an essay type. So it's just going to leave a space for you, for the student, to answer the question. The nice thing about doing online quizzes or exams is that you can specify, I mean, really in the end, you get to go in and evaluate what they've done. You can change the point. It's not like you're locked. Well, they spelled dopamine with an E in the middle instead of an A, but Casey marked it wrong and I can't go in and change it. The nice thing is you can go back through every single question they did and say, I'm going to give you a point for that. I'm not that worried about it. And then for the essay questions where they have to respond, you know, let's say in a paragraph, you can read it. If you say, okay, this is a 3-point question, then you can assign 1, 2, 3, or 0 points for the question. So don't think that just because you're creating this online that it is totally locked out from your ability to go in and have control over how the questions are graded. You still maintain control as the instructor as to how everything gets graded. So that would be short answer. Short answer. You mean as in like, if the film of the question, the answer part should be in the middle of the sentence, then I would just write that as the question. I'm trying to think. The blank in the frontal lobe is responsible for this. I would just write that in the question text and then make it short answer, and it should just be a 1 or 2 word response. So they will see that in the question, and then they're expecting that as the answer. Mm-hmm. Sure.
I'm sorry. How did you get into the test builder?
What you have to create it. You have to create the assignment first. So the first thing I did was create quiz 1. Just clicked on the online format, created quiz 1, and saved it. Once you do that, then it will take you to the test builder. That's something you learn through trial and error, is that you have to create it first, then it knows to take you to the test builder to begin building your test. The nice thing is, once you have done the legwork and created tests and quizzes online, they will be saved. If you go to My Pages up here, on the left you will see something called File Cabinet. And it will prompt you. When you're in the test builder, it will prompt you, get questions or get quiz or get exam from File Cabinet. In my intro psych class, I have 4 online exams. In my bio psych class, I have 6 online quizzes. So they are automatically saved, so I can import those in for future semesters, and then if I want to edit them in any way that I wish. But under My Pages in your File Cabinet is any purely online assignments that you've created. And you can actually save more in your File Cabinet if you want to. If you just want a list of websites, a list of handouts, you can keep just your masters of everything you want in your File Cabinet. I just use it for my online quizzes and exams. Those are automatically stored. Okay, good. All right, so that's coursework. 3 basic types of assignments: the basic, the file upload, or the online test or quiz. Let's take a look. Let's go back to my course. Okay.
Is there a way to set, like, in terms of most learning management systems, when you upload files or have students to upload files, there's like a minimum, or you can increase the size of the file?
The actual size of the file?
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen that option, but Casey is pretty generous with
Okay.
file sizes. You know, I mean, if they're uploading a video,
Right.
that you might have checked with. That's a great question. That I'd have you check with IT about what's the maximum allowable file size that they can upload. That would be the only thing I think that would really potentially be an issue. Something like PowerPoints, publisher files, Word documents, PDFs, those are all okay.
Some PowerPoints, if they have pictures, they
Can't write. Right, that's the only thing. I would check with IT about that.
Okay.
But like sometimes if students have to create short videos as part of a homework, then the instructor might just say, why don't you just go ahead and put that on YouTube, and I'll go find it in YouTube, rather than posting it here in Casey. That's a great question. Let me take you to collaboration to show you the chat and threaded discussion options. I'm going to show you chat first because it's very brief. Chat under collaboration literally just has by default a chat room available to you. You click on it where it says general discussion, and it will pop up a window that is a chat room. If the window does not pop up, check up here somewhere on your browser page to make sure that your pop-ups are not blocked, because that's what it will do. It'll say pop-up block and you have to allow it. So literally now I am in the chat room. Again, this is great for virtual office hours, review sessions where people have questions. All right, it's thinking. All right, usually you can just type your message down here, hit enter, and it posts up there. Let me try it one more time. Well, that's what it does. That's what it usually does. That's what it did last night, is it just allows you just to have real-time chats, but there's no other special settings for it. That's it. Also under collaboration, you have forums. This is where, I think whatever I did, it didn't like it. No, okay. Okay. Under forums, okay, it seems to be lagging a little bit. Under forums is where you're going to set up your threaded discussions. I'm sorry, this appears to have locked up. All right, let me borrow somebody and you guys can follow along while it's taking. If you click on forums and scroll down a little bit, usually by default, Casey has set up a general folder that just says open discussion. It's not assigned anything yet. You haven't set up how you want your threaded discussion You can set up as many folders as you want for as many threaded discussions as you would like. I had an instructor last night who plans on doing multiple threaded discussions and having different groups. You know, this group of 4 people participate in this one, this group participate in this one. You can work with IT to set up restrictions. I just think that's a lot of work. What I would say the easiest thing to do is just set up multiple discussions and just say, you 4 go into folder 1, and you 4 go into folder 2. It just makes things a lot easier. But if you click on your open discussion, if you take a look, I know not everyone has a handout because I ran out, but if you do have your handout on the last page, this feature I think is a little bit more confusing than it needs to be, so I just typed out what you need to do. Because on these shelves it appears that you do have a default folder, which is called Open Discussion. You can click on Edit Topic to change that title if you want to change it to something else besides Open Discussion, like Discussion 1. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay, so I'm going to click on my Open Discussion folder. I'm going to edit the topic, change the name to something else. And this is also where you will set display and end dates. In other words, your start and end dates. So you can type a short description about it, your start and end dates. And to be honest, I don't usually change any of these defaults. I just, it doesn't provide any extra functionality than what I want it to do. So I save the topic. Okay. Then exit edit mode and return to forum. So I've got the discussion there. And the easiest, this is just in my years of experience, go back, then now go ahead and click in that discussion, and then add a post. And this is like the first thread. It's what you are adding to the conversation. Go to this website and watch this, read this, look at this. Here's a reflection question I want you to think about. So once you're in the discussion, what I like to do at that point is just add the post. So I call the subject the same title as the folder. I post what I want them to do or respond to, and then please any directions that you want. Typically, I have students respond to my post and then reply to at least one other student's post, but you can have as many threads as you would like. And then submit.
The subgroups, do you ever have discussions with the entire class, or that's probably
Yeah, that's what I mean. Personally, that's what I do. When I say thread discussion, the whole class participates. So you get like 24 people in that discussion, in that threaded conversation. Oops, subject cannot be emptied. Sorry. But for some instructors, they prefer to have small group discussions, so I would just recommend setting up a folder for each one and just assign them that way, than trying to allow certain people access and deny people access to specific folders. That just seems like a lot of work. So once I did that, now I've got my first post right here, and then students can go in and just hit reply, and then the thread begins. They can respond to my original post. Once they start responding to other students' posts, what you'll see is that this starts to branch out like a tree. So you get to follow the threads literally all the way through. And the nice thing is it will just show up as a list. So you can actually follow the threads all the way down, who's responded, who's replied to your post and who's responded to other students' posts.
Can you see the text all together?
You can choose that option, but if you're grading in terms of participation, the first thing that I want to do is go through and see the names and how they posted, but you can certainly expand it that you can actually follow the whole thread. Okay, and I think that's under view reply options, post and replies. I think if you do that, it will show that you can actually copy and view the whole thing, not just who wrote it, but what they actually wrote. instead of having to click into each individual student. Okay, so that's major things. Basic types of coursework, collaboration for those types of assignments. Let's go into the grade book quickly, and I can just show you a couple of options there. If you want KC to include an attendance grade, in other words, you're taking attendance in KC all semester and you want to include it, what it's going to do by saying yes, it's going to include an attendance column. I say no. I don't want KC to do that. If I decide to use an attendance grade, I will make it up and just make it a basic assignment and just call it attendance. So I'm going to put no, but that is totally up to you. I just don't want to be tied to having to put attendance in KC every single class session because sometimes, you just forget. Okay, so let's take a look. This would be where you see students' grades for each assignment. So as you start adding assignments, this will get longer and longer and longer. You'll see all of their scores. You can set letter grade ranges. So you can change to a different scale. You can add a grade. In my personal grading scales, I have B pluses and C pluses, but I don't do minuses. So I would just add a B plus and specify the range and a C plus and specify the range. But you can certainly go in by changing and modify what these ranges are. That is totally up to you. The college does not have a specified grading scale. That is up to the discretion of instructors. Okay, so it'll give you some options. Default grading scale, basic, and then you can change the values of what constitutes an A, B, C, D, F, etc. All right, back to home. Okay, so back to the grade book. If you do like to weight, this is where you will do it. I just use straight points, so I used to weight and then I don't anymore. But if you would like to weight grades and you want KC to help you do this, you can weight by units. So different units are worth more than others. By type, for instance, exams being worth more than homework assignments or something like that. Or you can choose to do it in a custom way. Under this weighting method, you see the option. Let me go back to the main weighting screen. You see the option, drop each student's, however many, lowest scores out of all assignments. This is handy if you have a course set up such that your course grade is comprised of 6 quizzes, and each quiz is worth 20 points, and students get to drop their lowest one. If that's how you have your course set up, such that they're all equal, they can drop their lowest one, then this would be, and if that's your policy to drop the lowest, this is great because it would be automatic. But for most of us, or if that's not how you have your class set up, you might want to have the option of going in and individually dropping certain things, or someone missed a classwork day, but they had a horrible day, and here's what happens. You just say, okay, I'm just going to drop this for you today. It's okay. It's not going to count in your final grade as a 0. What you can do is there's a little book option here. That's your actual grade book. Basically, what you can do is go into each student's grade book. And I'm sorry that I don't have scores in here yet, but as my coursework builds and there are assignments being added, you will have an option to the right, drop this assignment. So you can go in selectively and drop individual assignments for students. What that will do in KC then is drop that student's total possible, which is a nice feature. Now, I have an Excel spreadsheet, and I write out all the scores by hand, and I'll just write a big X through something if I know I'm going to drop it. In the end, I still do it the old-fashioned way. I really do. I let KC add up all the points, but then if I have to make individual adjustments based on my discretion, I just do that. But you can in KC, and sometimes students like that, because if you say, okay, I promise I am going to drop this assignment, but it's not going to show up in KC, it's going to keep showing up as a 0, not a drop, they're trusting that it really will be dropped for their final grade. So sometimes they actually want to see it dropped. Then you can go into KC and just drop that assignment for them. It's as if it did not exist. So you do have that flexibility to drop individual assignments for students. Okay, I think that covers most of the basics. The last thing I want to show you how to do is something that we've only recently had the ability to do, and that is how to embed videos. Up until very recently, we had to provide the link or the video information to IT. They would upload it to the college's media server, and then KC would pull from the media server. Now, to some extent, we can upload and embed videos into our own shells, but that video must be available on some sort of sharing platform like YouTube or something else. It can't just be from your computer. It doesn't work that way. So it has to be able to be shared and embedded. So what I want to do is go to YouTube, and I'm just going to show you a quick example. And this is on the last page of the handout, how to embed a video. If I could type. And again, I apologize that the computer's running a little bit slow today. This is something I show in my learning and memory class if you're familiar with it. This is a test of selective attention, where you ask students to watch how many times the basketball gets passed back and forth between the players. So choose your video, and like I said, YouTube is a wonderful resource, but anywhere that you have the video available on some sort of media sharing platform, if you need a video that you normally show in class uploaded to our media server, IT can do that, and then you can embed it that way or have them embed it. That's fine too. But for general
This is a test
YouTube videos, what you're going to do, sorry this is lagging a little bit, is click where it says share. And then once you click on share, you click below it to embed. And then right here is the source code. I recommend on the handout, choose a video size of 480 by 360. That fits nicely within the columns
wearing white
on your KC pages.
basketball.
So just copy the code. And then back to KC. And my students are going to say, why do you have a gorilla playing, or a basketball playing gorilla experiment? On this page, I'm going to have to delete it. But anywhere where you have the option to edit or create content, on this page, I have the option, or on this box, I have the option to edit content. If I didn't have any content here already, it would simply say create content. I can add a page called videos, and then it will have a similar box, create content. So I'm just going to go ahead and edit this.
How many passes did you count?
And
The
add a new
correct
element.
answer is 15 passes.
So anywhere where you're allowed to create or edit
But
content
did you
on a
see the
KC
gorilla?
page, you can embed a video. Oh, I gotta go to options. If you don't see this, this is the important part. You have to add
This video
a
is
new
from research
feature
by
to this
Daniel
page,
Simons
and
and
it's called
Christopher
freeform
Shabri, and is
content.
copyrighted. It is available for use
So if
in
you're
talks,
editing
training,
something
and
that's already
teaching,
there, instead of creating
on
new content, you must
from
specify
his
this is
cog
free form, so
productions.
it doesn't restrict.
Learn more at theinvisiblegorilla.com.
Oh, it might just be easier for me to create a new page just called, here we go, freeform content. Okay, create content, here we go. So I have a new box, freeform content. Now, I'm probably going to want to change that name to videos. So here you type a title. video for class, and then here's the important thing. There's source code button. It looks like a greater, less than, greater than sign. So you already have the title there in code. Hit enter, paste the source code, hit OK, and then it's going to look like a gray box, and you're going to think, oh my gosh, it did it wrong. But it did it right. Then hit save. Okay, so remember, you can always go back and change this title. I just left it as freeform content for right now. But that's it. So like I said, if it makes more sense for you in the layout of your course shell just to add a page and call that videos and put all of your videos there, that's fine. Notice this overlaps a little bit, which I really didn't want for it to do. I can always go back and choose the video again with a smaller size, and that way it'll fit a little bit better. But at least your video is there for students to see. And of course, you always have the option of going to the website link and just showing them the URL. Just say, here, go here. Adding a bookmark is pretty straightforward. You just call it whatever you'd like to call it. Link to video for class, the URL if you want to put it in a set, such as Unit 1 videos, whatever you create, and then save it. So it will just make a list of links. And same thing with handouts. Let me just show handouts really quickly. Same idea. Under add a handout. Oops. I think I got it. Very, very user-friendly. The name of the handout, Johnson and Smith article. You choose the file from whatever source. Again, Word document, PDF, PowerPoint, data file, Excel spreadsheet, publisher file. If you already have sets created or you want to create sets to organize your handouts by unit or type or topic, you can do that. If you want to provide a description, you can. That will appear on the main page, but you don't have to. And then once you've chosen your file, you can choose when to display it, when to end the display. So you can display it all semester. For a syllabus, for instance, display now, no end date. If you want it to really be organized by unit, such that it stops being displayed when that unit is over, you can start on whichever date and end on whichever date. So handouts and bookmarks are really two very easy functions. But again, if you want to have handouts that are specifically tied to an assignment, then you can just put that in your coursework file upload. Okay, here's the article I want you to read, here's the questions that go with it, and they're together. So that is up to you. But there are multiple places to put a handout. Okay. I thank you so much for indulging us in this crash course in KC. This is something that I've learned over several years from trial and error. I have not shown you all of the features. I know there's a few extra things that if you're interested, IT will be able to help you with, but these are the basics for what most instructors would need to get their courses started. But again, please let me reiterate, this technology is available to you. Please do not feel obligated or think that there is an expectation from the college that you use all of it. All you're required to use it for is attendance tracking for the first 2 weeks and to actually enter grades, assignment grades. Anything else is for what you choose, what is convenient for you, what could potentially help your students. So I think that was something that they didn't communicate to us. It's like, you will use all of this. But I like paper and pencil things. I like hard copies. I don't want them to upload a paper. I want them to give it to me. I like that feeling. So yes, just want to make sure that's the last thing you hear. You are obligated only to use those two features. Anything else is up to you as you're developing your courses.
Thank you very much.
You are welcome. If you wouldn't mind on your way out, if you could just put down your information, name, the class you're teaching, the classes, and your email, just in case there's anything else I can think of. If you haven't received the manual, I'll be happy to email this to you. This has everything. That's the quality. Casey, this is the whole
I really have a question about, you mentioned
Hang on just a second. Let me stop the